This conference will now be recorded.
Okay guys, let's get started. So yesterday we completed these tasks. First of all, what we did, we created resource group. Then we created a virtual network. And then we had created 4 virtual machine: domain, SCCM PS, database, and client 1, the Windows 10 computer. And we put them on the same LAN network and turned them on. So these are the things which we did in the last session. Now today, what we have to do is we need to create a domain controller. Domain controller is a mandatory task. Without domain controller, you will never be able to install SCCM. Okay. So what we did, yesterday what we did, we created 4 machines. First one is DC. Not DC, actually it is, the name is domain, right? The second one is database. Third one is SCCM PS, and the fourth one is Windows 10. All of them are connected to the same LAN network. Okay. Now, we have to have a domain controller. What is a domain controller? Domain controller is a server which will take care of all the authentication. It will have a component called Active Directory, that is nothing but a database which contains all your users or your computers which are joined to the domain, security groups, policies. So we are going to make this server as domain controller. Okay, so domain controller will have one component called Active Directory. Active Directory is nothing but a database which contains few information, like it contains forest related details, domain related details, then user related details, systems, then security groups, right, policies, etc. So all these things will be present inside the domain controller. Whatever the users we have, right, whatever the computers we have, so everything will be inside that domain controller Active Directory database. So once the domain controller is ready, for example, you will have your domain called lab.com. Okay, that's your domain. So we will join all computers to lab.com. Okay, let's say you have 10 computers or 1000 computers or 10,000 computers. Everything will be a member of, everything will be registered here, lab.com. Understood, guys? Clear? Any question? So the computer which is domain, right, it is just a plain name. It is just a name of the computer. We have not made that computer as a domain controller. So what we are going to do, we need to install, the first point is we need to install ADDS role on that computer. ADDS role. On this computer, we will install ADDS role. That's a prerequisite. Active Directory Domain Services role. Without installing ADDS role, you will not be able to make that computer as a domain controller. Second point is Then after the installation of ADDS, we will promote. Give me 1 minute. Okay, yeah, I was not sure whether it is getting recorded or not. Okay. Now the second point is we will promote that server, promote domain as domain controller. Okay. Once it is the once it is promoted, we will configure DNS, right? So this one, the domain will be your domain controller plus your DNS server. Okay, so I'm gonna make somebody as a presenter and guide you step by step how to go about it. So let me just okay. Are you logged in to the servers, Bakhtiar or anyone?
Yeah, I'm logged in, but I still have to set up my remote desktop manager, connection manager.
Arafat, you logged in to the server?
Yes, I'm logging.
Okay, I'm gonna make you presenter, Arafat. Okay, give me control. Okay, you did not start the computer yet. Let me just okay, so the computers are not yet started. Let me just take the control, or
Okay.
you can take the control, Arafat. Now go to the Azure portal and start all the computers. So before you join the session, 5 minutes before you start all these computers, so check all these boxes, yeah, and click on start and click yes. Very good. So now these computers are getting started. What happens when you stop it? Basically, it frees up the memory and the processor and other hardware, and that those things can be given to somebody else. When you start, then it reassembles all those hardware and then it gets powered on. Understood? Yeah, it takes 5 minutes at least.
Okay.
So domain controller is a mandatory step. Okay, you have to have a domain controller for SCCM to configure. Without domain controller, you cannot set up SCCM. Now go back to remote desktop connection manager and connect each computer. Right click on each one of them and connect, or at least connect the, yeah, enter the username and password. Okay, since you are logged into all the computers, we need to go to domain. Okay, so this is a plain server. We have given the name of the server as domain, but this is not a domain controller. So what we have to do, we need to right click on domain and click on full screen. Now the first thing first, what we have to do is we need to go to this local server at the left hand side, and there are some configurations required before you make this computer as a domain controller. As you see, this is saying install updates automatically using Windows Update. That means it is going outside to the internet world to install the updates, the Microsoft updates. So we don't want any computer to go outside and get the updates from internet. It will be SCCM who will be pushing down the updates to all the computers. So I'm going to click on that, this install updates automatically. Okay, and then okay, so you see this is like checking updates. You see no updates are available. We will continue to check on daily basis. We don't want that to happen. So there is a one option is there to stop this. I'm gonna see this is giving low memory issue because this is server 2016. So right click on this and choose command prompt admin and type in sconfig and hit enter. S for sugar, configuration, CONFIG, sconfig, and we need to use this Windows update setting. So currently it is set to automatic. We have to change it to manual. So I'm going to type in for number 5 and hit enter, and M for manual and hit enter. So the update download was automatic. I changed it to manual. As you see, Windows update set to manual. System will never check for updates. Very good. So close it. So the first thing is done. The second thing is it is saying IE enhanced security turned on. That means when you go to any website, it's gonna give you a prompt that do you really want to go to that website? Every time you go to any website, it's gonna give you that prompt. So we don't want that prompt to come. So turn that off, the pop-up. That's the second thing. Okay. The third thing is it has IPv6 and IPv4 both. So you can keep both of them, or you disable IPv6. IPv6 is not required. So instead of IPv6 and v4 both, I'm gonna remove IPv6. So IPv6 is disabled now. So these three things we did. The first thing, install updates automatically. We changed from automatic to manual, then turned off the IE enhanced security. It is not changing it because you have to refresh on the top. This will also get changed, the install updates. In few minutes it will get changed from automatic to manual. Okay, now so this was the basic configuration before you make this server as a domain controller. What you have to do, you need to click on this manage and then add roles and features. Okay, so this is the wizard to add any roles and features on this computer. I'm gonna click on next, and we are on domain controller, domain server. That's the reason it is saying the name of the computer domain, IP address 10.10.1.4, right? That's the IP address of this computer. This is Windows Server 2016 data center. So we go next, and the second option, Active Directory Domain Services. This is a prerequisite for the server to become a domain controller. You need to install this role. So add feature. So Active Directory Domain Services role, and then you just have to go next, 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 install. Okay, that's the first thing we did. So I'm going to open a notepad and say point number 1. Point number 1 is we did basic configurations on domain server. Like we turned off the enhanced security. We changed the updates configuration from automatic to manual and disabled IPv6. Second thing, what we have done is we installed ADDS role on domain server. I hope you guys can see this, or let me just increase the font so that everybody can see this properly. Okay, that's the second point, guys. Now the third point is we need to promote domain server as the domain controller plus DNS server. So we have to make this server as a domain controller plus DNS server. So the first point is done. The second point is also done. Now, third point. You see, this is installed. The Active Directory Domain Services role is now installed. And there is an option here, promote this server to a domain controller. Either you click here or you close this, and then there is an exclamation mark on the top, and you can click on this, promote this server to a domain controller. Now, we need to choose our forest name. Forest is what? It's a technical term. In a forest, you have multiple trees, right? So, like there is a king, right? And who has got multiple, he's ruling to multiple villages, for example. So one village is his dominion, right? Another village is his another dominion. So based on this concept, we have a forest like an umbrella, and inside that umbrella you have multiple domains, one domain or multiple domains. So the first domain name, okay, you need to choose your domain name. Domain name is what? Like a dominion, right? So anything of your choice, like Microsoft.com or Google.com or Firefox.com. I'm gonna choose the name as lab.com. Simple one, easy to understand. Okay, lab.com is our domain name. You may choose anything of your choice. Next. Now we are making this server. We are doing it on 2016 server. Okay, so we'll leave that as it is. We are making this server as domain name system server, DNS server. So we'll leave that checkbox as it is. This is going to be our DNS server. Okay. Now this password is basically when the domain is crashed and you are restoring the domain controller again. So at that point of time, it's going to ask you the same password what you are going to choose here. Okay. So choose any password of your choice. I would suggest to use the same password what you have chosen for the computer. Yes. So go next. We don't have DNS server right now. That's the reason it's giving you that warning message. That's okay. Go next. Now NetBIOS name. NetBIOS is an old technology from Microsoft. Previously, NetBIOS was the program which helped multiple computers to talk to each other. Now it is already replaced by DNS. So, but Microsoft has still kept this NetBIOS. So leave that as it is. Go next. Okay, so this is the location where your database folder, database file will be saved, log file will be saved, and the last one, the group policy information will be saved. These are the location. So we'll leave that default location and go next.
That's the location in the for PC for my laptop.
No, on this server, not on laptop, on this domain server.
Okay.
Next. Now this is the summary what you have chosen. In case if you want to make some changes, you need to go back. Then next. Now it is checking the readiness of this server, whether this server is ready to become a domain controller or not. So it is checked. No, go back. I think you need to minimize this server manager. Let me just take the control, okay? You have to minimize this. Okay, so all prerequisite passed successfully. However, you have some warning message, and warning message is coming because you have not given the static IP address to this computer, static IPv4 address. Okay, that's okay. You can give it later on, that's not a problem. But all prerequisite check passed successfully, and this is ready to become a domain controller. So I need to click on install, and now it's getting installed. Clear? Everyone understood? Now let me just share my screen again. So I'm gonna share my screen, and okay, so as you guys see my screen, what we did, we completed point number 1. We installed ADDS role on that server, and then we promoted that server as a domain controller. And also we have configured DNS on the same server. Now what is DNS? Anyone knows what is DNS?
Ashif bhai, the ADDS means the Active Directory Domain Server
Domain service.
Service. Okay, gotcha.
Anyone knows about DNS? What is DNS?
Domain name service?
Yeah, that's the full form, but what exactly is the role of DNS?
It assigns name to IP address, right?
Right. So it converts name into IP, IP into name. Suppose you do like this. You go to this on your computer browser, you type in www.google.com and hit enter. What happens? It will go to DNS servers. These are like public DNS servers. Let's say this one is your Google DNS. This one is your, for example, IBM DNS. This one is Yahoo DNS. This one is maybe probably GoDaddy, right? This is like, let's say Hotmail DNS or Azure DNS. Let me just take Azure DNS. So on your computer, this is your PC, right? You typed www.google.com. Now, in the backend, what happens? The google.com has an IP address. So whatever the IP address, because we don't know the Google IP address, right? So we typed in google.com. In the backend, it understands the name, it converts name into IP address. How it is doing it? It will try to look in each and every domain one by one. So for example, it first hit to this and checks whether do we have any information like www.google.com. Does any IP, do we have any IP address corresponding to this address? If it does not find here, it will go on to the second one, right? If it does not find here, it will go on to the third one. And then if it gets the information here, then it will reply back. So it will have an IP address in the backend. And from that IP address, suppose it contains the information of google.com and the IP of the DN of the Google server. Let's say this one is Google server. So from here, it will get all the information and the website will be loaded on your computer. So these things happen in fraction of seconds. When you type in any website name or anything to search on the browser, right? It goes and hit to the public DNS until it gets the public IP address. And once it gets the public IP, then it goes to that particular Google server, the actual server where the information is present. And from that server, the page is loaded up on your computer. Understood or not, guys? Clear? So what do we need to do? We need to have our internal DNS server. And one is public DNS server. Internal will have few information. All our computers, the domain, SCCM PS, database, and Windows 10. Now, whenever you type in any browser, any website address, or anything which you have to search, like you are pinging something, then first of all, it is gonna hit the internal DNS. All the requests will come to internal DNS. In case if internal DNS does not have those information, then it will go to external DNS. Understood, guys? Any question in this? Arfad?
No.
Bakhtiyar? All good? So we have the internal DNS. What we did, we configured the internal DNS so that all the computers should point to this internal DNS. So how do we do that? The IP address of our domain server is 10.10.1.4. And we need to make sure all computers, this one, this one, this one, this one, everyone is pointing to this IP address for internal DNS, because this is our internal DNS. So I'm gonna make you presenter again and guide you how to change the pointer from external DNS to internal DNS. All the server and computer should point to the internal one, not the external. Okay, so I'm gonna make you presenter, Arafat, again. So I want you to go to Azure portal and click on this domain. Yeah, and you need to get the IP address of this computer. What is the IP address? The internal one. You see the private IP, that is the internal IP address, 10.10.1.4. So since this is a DNS server, domain is what? This is domain controller plus DNS server. So we want all the computers to point to this DNS server. So whenever you type in something in browser or something, it is gonna hit to this one first. So copy that 10.10.1.4 and go to virtual network at the left hand side. And then click on vnet_sea. No, I said you need to click on vnet_sea. Click on vnet_sea. Now in the list you have DNS server. In the left side is scroller. You need to scroll down and you see DNS server there. Yeah, right there. So all the computers which are connected to this network, click on that DNS server. So there are 4 computers which are connected to this network, are pointing to this one, the default Azure provided DNS. We don't want that public DNS, we want the custom DNS. So all computers which are connected to this network should be pointing to the internal DNS. So click on custom and paste the IP address there. And click on save. Oh, up, yeah. 10.10.1.4. Virtual machine within this network must be restarted. That's okay. Click on that. Give me 1 minute. Why this error message coming? Invalid IP address. Oh, you had an actually there was a space there. 10.10.1.4 and then save. Okay, and you see you need to restart the virtual machines. What does it say? Virtual machine needs to be restarted so that all the computers will start pointing to this one. Okay, so let's go ahead to the virtual machine section and restart all the computers. So I'm gonna choose all these boxes and restart, because if you don't restart, the changes what we did in the DNS, that will not get replicated to those computers. Any questions so far? Anyone?
I had a small question. So we configure the DNS server on Azure. What is the procedure if you are trying to do it on a physical device rather than on the cloud?
So physical computer, you need to do the same thing, like configure the DNS on one server, like domain server, and the moment you provide IP address through DHCP, in the DHCP itself you add this DNS. So all the computer which receives the IP address from the DHCP server, they will also get the DNS information too. Okay.
Okay.
So we have completed these steps so far. First, basic configuration. Second, we installed ADDS role on domain server. Then we promoted that server as a domain controller. And then we have pointed all the computers to the internal DNS. And point number 5, we restarted all the computers. Okay, that is also done. Why we restarted? Because previously they were connected to public DNS. So to change the configuration, we had to restart the computer. Now let's log into domain again, but this time you need to use the domain account, not the local account, because we have created a domain controller. So what we are going to do is we need to choose lab.com because it is registered on lab.com/Arfat and the password. Looks like you are not typing the password correctly. So now you just logged in to the domain controller using domain account. Now point number 6 is we need to join all computers to the domain. So all the computers should be registered within lab.com, right? So that we can get all the information from Active Directory. Whatever the computers we have, all those computer information can be found in Active Directory. So we need to register all the computers with this one, lab.com. So let's log into database and join it to the domain. Currently it is not joined. It is a work group computer, like individual computer. We need to make this as a member of the domain. So let's log in using Arafat and the password. Now before you join this computer to the domain, you have to also do the basic configuration what you did on domain. So you go to local server at the left hand side and you see this computer is also going outside to the internet world to get the updates. So I'm going to click on that and change setting, and we will change it to never check for update. So don't go outside. It's set to manual now, and it will be SCCM server who will be pushing down the updates to all the computers. Similarly, This one, IE enhanced security. We don't need that, so turn that off. IPv6 is not needed. The properties, and IPv6 is not needed, so I'm going to remove IPv6 and refresh. Okay, now this is database server and it is a workgroup computer, so it is not registered to the domain yet, so we need to make this server as a member of the domain. So let's click on this workgroup and change and domain. So member of which domain? What's the domain name? lab.com. So click OK and give the username and password of that Arafat and the password, the domain account. And then click OK. Click OK and then OK again. Close it and restart it. It needs a restart. So the database is joined to the domain. Now similarly, you have to repeat the same step for SCCM PS. So let's log into SCCM and register it with lab.com domain. Connect. Click on SCCM PS. Click on local server and do the basic configuration. Yeah, never check for update. Close it. Then IE enhanced security, turn that off. IPv6 is not needed. Yeah, close it. Now you join it to the domain. So click on workgroup, change domain and the domain name lab.com. Yeah, click on close and restart. You need to join Windows 10 to the domain. Okay, did you join Windows 10 to the domain?
Yes, that's the Windows 10.
Did you join Windows 10 to the domain?
Yes, I join it.
I don't think so. Because if you join, then the computer will be restarted, right? So let me take the control. Now on Windows 10, let me take the control. So on Windows 10, what do we need to do is we need to click on this Explorer and right click on this PC and choose Properties. And it is a workgroup computer, Windows 10. So we need to click on Change Setting and click on Change and Domain, lab.com. Enter the username and password. Very good. Click OK and close and restart. So what we did, guys, we have made this server, the domain server, as a domain controller, and we join all the computers to the domain. So I am on domain controller now, and I'm going to click on Tools and choose Active Directory User and Computers. So in this Active Directory User and Computer database, I should be able to see all my computers because I have already registered them with lab.com. So if I go to this computers, you see all my computers are showing up: database, SCCM PS, and Windows 10. So they are already registered. Understood, guys? Now, what do we need to do is the next point. We need to create few accounts to log into computers. So we have to create 3 accounts in Active Directory. And the account name will be, I need one account for SCCM server. So I'm going to say the account name will be SCCM admin. Another account for database server. So DB admin or SQL admin. Okay. And another account for this one, Windows 10 computer. Right. So anything of your choice. You can go with, let's say, Peter. So 3 accounts we are going to create: SCCM admin for SCCM server, SQL admin for database server, and Peter for Windows 10. And we already have one account, the built-in account, Arafat. Okay. So we will be using that account for domain computer. So let's create the 3 accounts. Now these are organizational units and containers. I'm going to create one organizational unit. So to create that, right click on lab.com and choose new and choose organizational unit like a container, guys. Okay. And then the name of this organizational unit can be anything of your choice. I'm going to say SCCM lab and click OK. So this is like a folder, and inside that folder I'm going to create a couple of accounts. So first I'm going to click on view and advanced feature, so I can see all the folders. Now in this SCCM lab, so currently nothing is there, it is completely blank. So I need to right click on this SCCM lab and choose new and user, the first user. Okay, user number 1, that is SCCM admin. The name of this user is SCCM admin. The login name is SCCM admin. So that's how you create account in Active Directory, guys. So you need to give the name and the user login name SCCM admin, and next, and uncheck this box, and password never expires. Can you enter the password? So we need to choose a password for this account. Okay, so and then next, and okay, password do not match. Yes, finish. So the first account is created. Now create second account, that is SQL admin. So right click on SCCM lab again and choose new user. SQL admin. First name is SQL, last name admin. SQL. Right. SQL admin. SQL all small. SQL admin. Next. Enter password. Choose a new password, anything of your choice. And uncheck that box. Next and finish. So the second account is ready. Now the third account. Right click on that one and new user Peter or John, anything of your choice. Okay. So this guy is gonna use Windows 10 computer. Peter. Yes. User logon name. Yeah. Give the username. Next and finish. So we created 3 accounts, and there is already one account there. As you go to user section here, and you will see Arafat here. You see Arafat. That is the built-in account. We have used this account to create domain controller. So that is built-in account. I'm gonna move that account to that particular OU in SCCM lab. So there are 4 accounts now in this SCCM lab. One is SCCM admin. This is for SCCM server, SQL admin for database server, Peter John for that one, Windows 10, and Arafat for Windows domain computer. So 4 computers and 4 accounts. Okay. Now, apart from built-in, we don't need to touch built-in because that's a built-in account. We have created these 3 accounts. The first 3 accounts we just created. These are the accounts which are like a plain account. They don't have any permission to log into those computers. So we need to right click on them and add to a group and add them to domain admin so that they will have admin rights on all domain join computers. Okay, so we just added these 3 accounts, the first 3, SCCM admin, SQL admin, and Peter. They are now member of domain admin. So domain admin means they will have a read and write permission on all the domain join computers. They will have admin rights, and they can also log into the computers. Now, to log into these computers using these accounts one by one, what we have to do, we need to configure the username and password. You know what is happening every time whenever we are logging into these computers, it is asking us to enter the username and password. So we don't want that pop-up to come. So we will save the password, and that's going to take the password which is already saved here. So for one by one, so Arafat is for domain, SQL admin is for database, SCCM admin is for SCCM server, and Peter John is for Windows 10. So one by one, we have to configure each account. So right click on this domain and go to properties. And I'm going to go to this logon credential and type in the username as Arfat. Domain will be using Arfat, and the domain name is lab.com, right? Give the password there. So we will be using Arfat for domain server only. Click OK. Very good. Now right click on database server and go to properties. And log on credential, uncheck that box. Now the username is SQL admin. No, that's custom is fine. SQL admin. So we will be using those accounts to log into these computers, guys. Password and the domain name is lab.com. Very good. Click OK. Now right click on SCCM server and properties and log on credential. Username is SCCM admin. And the password. And domain name is lab.com. The last one is Windows 10. So that is Peter, right? Log on credential. Peter Johan, I think you have chosen. I'm not sure what exactly is the username. lab.com and click on file and save the configuration, because we don't want to lose this configuration. Yeah, save. It's not that one. Yeah, save. Okay, so that's done, guys. So now if you have to connect to this computer, let me just take the control. Now if you have to connect to these computers, you just need to double click, and that's gonna take the username and password which is already given, right? It is not gonna ask you for username and password again. You just double click and check this box, do not show this pop-up again, and yes. And similarly the Windows 10, check this box and yes. Okay, so suppose all the computers are disconnected. Let me just disconnect all the computers. So disconnect group. You see all the computers are disconnected, and if you have to connect all the computers, you just have to right click and connect group. That's it. All the computers will get connected. Looks like the password for domain is incorrect. Let me just, you did not type in the password correctly for domain server, because all other computers are connected properly except domain. Can you enter the password here properly? And save this. Click on file and save. Now double click on domain. So it should get connected. Check that box and yes. Understood, everyone? So it's not gonna ask you for the password again. So we use these accounts to log into these computers. So we used the SCCM account, SCCM admin, to log into this one, SCCM PS. We used a Peter account to log into Windows 10 computer, as you see, Peter Johan. And we use SQL admin to log into database. So we created 3 accounts, and one account was already there for domain. So 3 accounts for three different servers. Point number 8, add these accounts into domain admin group, right? So that is also already done. We have already done that. So point number 6 is done. Point number 7 is also done, and point number 8 done. Now point number 9, save user ID and password in remote desktop connection manager. So that is done. So these are the things which we did today. Okay, so let me give you a quick summary again. So we did basic configuration of domain server, then we installed ADDS role on domain server. We promoted that computer as a domain controller. Then we have pointed all the computers to the internal DNS, not the external. So restarted all the computers. Then we joined all the computers to the domain. We created 3 accounts, SCCM admin, SQL admin, and Peter. And we added those accounts into domain admin group. And then we saved the username and password of these accounts into remote desktop connection manager, so that next time when we log into these computers, it's not going to ask you for the username and password. You just have to double click and it will use the saved configuration. Now, so we are done with all the topics what we wanted to do today. I'm gonna click on stop all the computers in Azure so that they are not gonna charge unnecessarily. Any question before we wrap it up, guys?
One question. For Windows 10, we did not disable automatic updates.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. We can do it later on. That's not a problem.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So Arafat, can you copy this and send it on the chat WhatsApp, please, so that everyone knows what we have done today. Okay. Any question from anyone? No question? Okay, guys. So I want you guys to do all these steps and make sure everyone is on the same page. Okay. Chandra, you are doing local setup. You have any question? Okay. Chandra, what is your question? No, I know local setup, but what is your question? Do you have any question to ask? Okay, fine, guys. So in case if you guys have any question, you can reach me anytime.
Okay, Kashyap bhai,
Yes.
I send the notepad on this chat too, so they can read right here on
Have
the
you
line.
sent on WhatsApp?
Not yet, but I send on this grab. I mean, go to meeting chat.
Okay, go to meeting chat. Okay, fine, no worries. I'll take it from there.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So when you guys are done with all the setup, then you must stop all the computers, stop all the servers, so that it won't charge you during that time when the servers are stopped. Okay, guys. So we'll meet again same time tomorrow. I hope the session was informative, and we'll meet. See you guys tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye, guys.